What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here. First, let me say that I hope you are having a wonderful holiday season and got lots of time to relax and see your loved ones. As someone who worked shift work for over a decade, I know that is not always the case, so whatever your situation, I hope you at least had a nice holiday season doing stuff you enjoy and seeing people that you care about. So last year, I did a Destiny fashion show as I have always loved the fashion in Destiny and I wanted to document my characters' looks over the years. Back then, we didn't have in-game loadouts, so each of my characters basically stuck to a general theme and color palette so that I could mix and match armor as I needed it without looking super stupid. But with Lightfall, we got in-game loadouts, so now I can swap my most commonly used builds on the fly. Not to mention Dim, which can save your loadouts in the fashion as well. So since Lightfall, I've been tailoring my builds to fit certain themes. I will show off my most used builds for each subclass and also just do a bunch of other builds that I like the style for. Like, I have a few Solar Warlock builds, not just one, so they will all be showcased in this video. I get lots of comments on my videos asking about my appearance and shaders and stuff, so for the people that ask that, this is the video for you. So originally, this was just going to be one video with all three of my characters, but I started the script on Warlock, and by the time I was done, I had 4 pages, which is usually around 15 minutes in length. I figured people probably don't want to sit through close to an hour of Destiny fashion, so I decided to break it up into 3 videos instead. After all, I gotta appease the almighty algorithm. And speaking of that, why not leave a like on the video to help it out? And hell, maybe even subscribe so we can end the year on a high note with lots of subs. Thanks. Anyways, we'll start this 3-part video series with my favorite class of the bunch. Yes, I love all the classes and play them all a ton, but I'm a Warlock main at heart. A lot of people think Warlocks get shit on for style, but personally, I love the Warlock style. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Since this time of the year is very festive and this season finally has a focus on stasis, I want to start with my Stasis Warlock. What is awesome about this outfit in particular is it has 5 different shaders, including some old OG year 1 shaders. I always love when I can mix and match shaders and they still fit well together. It also features 3 pieces from the Dawning event over the years, which is cool since the Dawning is a winter event and therefore it goes nicely with Stasis. The Winterheart helmet I used to rock constantly, and I actually went with the Dendrite Shimmer robes over the Winterheart robes. I used to exclusively rock the Winterheart robes back in the day and I loved them with the monochromatic shader. That was my OG Warlock look. But I've since gotten more into themed styles, and this one just screams Stasis Warlock. Obviously, we have the Osmiomancy gloves with the Endothermia ornament. Boots on a Warlock seldom matter because you can barely see them, but these feel pretty frosty. And then we have the Bond of the Worm lore. Obviously, I could have went with a Dawning Bond from over the years, but I love the little shimmer of the crystal on the Bond. It looks awesome and pairs nicely with the outfit. The Bond is from the Kingsfall raid, by the way. So yeah, that is the first look of the video, and again, one of my absolute favorites thanks to the combination of it being 5 different shaders and featuring pieces from 2 different sets of the Dawning, and all just really capturing that Stasis Freeze aesthetic I was going for. And of course, Vergloss Curve to top it off. This build not only looks awesome, but it also goes extremely hard in endgame PvE, which most of the builds I will be showcasing do as well. So since we started with a Darkness subclass, let's continue with the other Darkness subclass. Next up is my Threadling Spam build, and I actually have 2 looks for this one, because I first made this build before Crota's End came out, and then I redid the style with some of the Crota's End armor. So let's look at the new and improved one first. We have the helmet and robes from the Crota's End raid, and the Hex Rock gloves from the Season of the Witch. I like the dots on the gloves as it goes with the dots on the Swarmer's exotic boots. And then once again we have the Bond of the Worm lore, and again, 5 different green shaders that all go well together in my opinion. And next was my OG Threadling build, which featured the helmet from the Root of Nightmares. I especially love this because it is very hard to make the watermelon shader look good, but I think it looks awesome here. Then we have the Northlight gloves with polished sea stone for that bright green look. The Technologic robes with that atmospheric glow. The Swarmers with the exotic ornament and neon jungle. And the Hardened Basilisk Bond for that other green glow. This Bond just looks like this out of the box and doesn't even need a shader. Sticking with Strand, we have the Necrotic Grip build next. Here's where I get kind of basic and don't mix and match shaders nearly as much. On the helmet, we have the Celestial cover with Gambit Jadestone and the Necrotic grips with the same shader and the Chimera Sting ornament. I like the look of the regular Necrotic grips, they just don't shade really well. Then we have the Scorned Baron robes, which are some of the coolest robes in Destiny, and the Virtuous boots from Season of the Dawn. The armor set from that season looks great on Warlock and Titan. And both of those armor pieces both have the Seraphim cloak shader. And lastly, we have the Wolfswood bond with Gambit Jadestone for that fiery green look. Overall, I love the dark aesthetic with the popping green, and it pairs perfectly with the Thorn, Necrochasm, or Osteostriga. Alright, enough with darkness subclasses, let's get back to the light. This season is all about solar, so let's look at some good looking solar builds. First up, we have one of my favorite looks, my Sunbracers build. It features Sunbracers obviously, but the rest of the set is all from the Ghost of the Deep dungeon, which has some of the best armor we have ever gotten in Destiny. It just looks so damn good. Normally, Erebos Glance is a mostly black shader, but here it glows a fiery reddish orange, which is perfect for this build that is all about lighting the world ablaze with your solar grenades. It's pretty basic, as I just use black and red shaders like Midnight Smith and New Age Black Armory, but I think the final product speaks for itself. Next up, we have a build that I am well known for, and that has caught on like wildfire this season. Pun intended. My Dawn Chorus Ignition build. This one is as basic as it gets, using only Erebos Glance for the shader, but I think it comes together very nicely with some subtle hints of flames throughout. We have the Dawn Chorus helmet with the Phoenix Renaissance ornament. Dawn Chorus on its own is a pretty whack looking helmet, but the ornament is super clean, especially with the right shaders. Then we have the Dawnsinger gloves from Season of the Haunted. They have that little flame accent that is perfect for the build. The Epielos following robes, also from Season of the Haunted. Some boots that shade nicely to all black and don't stand out, and then the Dawnsinger bond from Season of the Haunted to tie the flaming accents all together. Next is the Wings of Sacred Dawn. This is not the most used exotic, but I made a build video on this last season after its rework, and the style I came up with is super cool, so I wanted to show it off. For the helmet, we have the Atavistic Idol hood from Trials. It is sort of bird themed with the beak on the front and the feathers on the side, so it pairs nicely with this exotic and the floating playstyle. It also has the all gold Callus' Shadow shader, which I believe came from the Spire of the Stars raid. Next we have the Majestic Celestine gloves from the Summer Solstice event, I believe. Wings of Sacred Dawn with Continuum alloy shader. The Sphitish boots with Midnight Talons. And once again, the Bond of the Wormlore with Callus' Shadow. I just love how all the pieces have those small gold accents to them thanks to the way that the shaders shade the pieces. It's just a super cool looking style here. Next we have the Starfire Protocol Warlock, and here we have some great shader synergy going on. We have the Dawnsinger hood with the Testudo shader, the Atavistic Idol gloves from Trials with Tortured Ivy shader for that nice gold look. Unfortunately, these gloves actually look better without any glow, but this is the system Destiny has in place. We have the Phoenix Fusion ornament for Starfire Protocol without any shader at all. This was the look that I was going for, to find armor pieces that go with the theme of the ornament. We have the Corrupting Echo boots from the Grasp of Avarice dungeon with the Queensguard Valor shader, and lastly we have the Condescent bond from Guardian Games with the Hoarfrost Sunrise shader. It is a bird style bond that really goes with the wing features on the shoulders of the robes. Overall, I think this look is super clean. Don't worry, this is the last solar build. I wasn't going to include the Mantle of Battle Harmony style because it is a pretty ugly exotic, but I decided I should just show off a couple pieces that I really like. The Epielos Follow hood from the Season of the Haunted is a super cool helmet, and the Skybreaker gloves look awesome with this build with the caveat that you wear the Trials emblem that gives you the red glow, which is super annoying and something I wish Bungie would change. I wish they would allow us to select the glow that we want, or just no glow at all, because I have some builds that look awesome and others that look shitty because of the glow. So just something I wanted to talk about. Let me know down below if you like this idea, and maybe by some miracle Bungie will change it in the final shape. Anyways, on that note, that leads us to my next build, which is an Arc Warlock build that suffers from the same fate of the Trials glows, and that is my Geomags Warlock. So my helmet is the Dragon's Trial helmet, which is a super cool looking helm, but it looks goofy as hell with this yellow glow, especially with the theme of the build. But when we throw on the blue Trials glow, it looks incredible with this style. I wish this was just a permanent thing. It annoys me so much that I usually just swap to another helmet if I don't have the glow. But this build is all about electricity, hence why I'm strictly using the Sinking Feeling shader for that stormy vibe. We have the Arclight gloves from the Season of the Seraph for more electrical pulses, the Ghost of the Deep robes for that lightning look, Geomags with the alternate conduction ornament because they have the Tesla coil stuff going on, and then the Intrepid Inquiry Bond, a super cool style and a very fun build to use. Next, we have one of the best looking exotics in the game, and that is Crown of Tempest. Every ornament on this thing absolutely slaps, and I've made some great looks with it over the years. But the ornament I settled on is probably the worst of the bunch, but it goes best with the theme of the build. I was going for strong Tron vibes with this one. Once again, we have nothing but the Sinking Feelings shader. We have the Yuga Sundown gloves from Escalation Protocol, a throwback to one of my favorite times in Destiny 2. They shade really well, allowing the light blue to pop. Again, big Tron vibes. We actually have a green armor piece that I got the ornament for just for this build, the Cosmic Wind 3 robes. And yet again, the blues are really popping with this build. Then we have the Hardened Basilisk pants and the Insignia Shade Bond. I really like this style as I just find it super unique, and I love that I was able to use a green armor piece and make it look dope. And that brings us to the last arc build, which is Fallen Sunstar. The helmet has the Cryptic Legacy shader, which you get for a flawless run of the Deepstone Crypt raid. I was LFGing this back in the day, and this was the longest it's ever taken me to get a flawless raid because people kept dying on the jumping puzzle. But I'm so glad I persisted as I love this shader. It was my go-to on my Titan all of last year. This helmet looks good with or without the ornament, but I go no ornament. Once again, I'm using nothing but the Sinking Feelings shader. I know, real original, but if it works, it works. Then we have the Arc Light gloves. Much like Geomags, this is all about lightning. We have the Corrupting Echo robes from the Grasp of Avarice dungeon. The spikes on the shoulder go perfectly with the spikes on the helmet. The Frost Reach boots from one of the Dawning events, and the Arc Light Bond. Again, pretty basic, but I think it looks great. On to Void, we have one build and one build only. Sure, Nezarec's Sin can be good, and I'm definitely going to make a Briarbinds build in the near future, but with nothing Void related than the artifact this season, I'm in no rush to do that. But if I am on Void, you can catch me rocking Controverse Hold. I've loved this exotic from the day they came out, and I haven't taken them off my Void locks since. I've gone flawless with them, I've used them in every day one raid I've played, they're just awesome. Both the ornaments look good on these, especially with the shader Amethyst Veil. For the helmet, I have probably my favorite Warlock helmet in the game. Aside from that OG Winterheart helm, this is the one I usually rock the most. And up until this season, it was unobtainable to anyone who didn't play Iron Banner back in Warmind, which I kind of liked. That exclusivity was cool, but that is neither here nor there. It also uses one of my favorite purple shaders, which is Melchizedek Bramble. Just a very clean shader. The robes use it too, again, on one of my favorite armor pieces, the Winterheart robes. On the legs, I run Erebos Glance to make them fully black, but the purple glow you see is there because these are from the Prestige Leviathan, the boots of the Emperor's Minister. So aside from the Bond, we have 3 Year 1 armor pieces here, which I think is pretty cool. And lastly, we have the Opulent Scholar Bond from Season of Opulence. Though, once again, the Bond of the Wormlore with Burgusian Knight shader would also look extremely good with this style, but I wanted to stick with some older armor pieces. And that brings us to the final build, my sweaty PvP setup. I love Transversive Steps, but I haven't worn them in ages. Ophidian Aspect is now my go-to, and these exotic gloves were the first exotics I loved in Destiny 2. In vanilla, I only played Warlock. I got Eye of Another World and would rock that and it looked cool, and then I got these and I didn't take them off for a long time. Especially because back then, it was a much more weapons-focused sandbox versus ability-based, and build crafting was basically non-existent. So it allowed me to reload my Number Auto Rifle or Euro's Gift or Positive Outlook much quicker, or my beloved Nameless Midnight Scout Rifle, and made every weapon just feel buttery smooth with high handling. And to this day, they look fine as hell. Anyways, onto the build. Of course, we have the all-black, sweaty-looking Warlock. I went with Jacarina on the helmet. Even though there is a slight blue tinge on the chin, the black is much more flat, where Erebos Glance has some texture to it. Granted, it is a darker black. Either way, both look good. Of course, we have the Hood of the Exiled Trials ornament. I still think the OG look of the Ophidians is the nicest, so I rock those. The Scorned Baron robes, the Corrupting Echo boots, and the Trials Atavistic Idol Bond. And I can also show off the Trials glows, and they all look pretty sweet to be honest. Anyways, that is it for the video. If you sat through it this entire time, then thanks so much for watching. I hope it was entertaining and gave you some fun ideas to try for your own builds and styles. If you enjoyed the video, then leaving a like would mean a lot to me. And if you want to catch the Titan and Hunter fashion shows, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss those. Once again, Happy New Year and take care.